All right, we're going. Leah Faston.
Hold on. I'm locked. What happened to my camera?
You're frozen.
Am I there? Am I back? I
Yeah,
touched
you're
my
back.
camera and it got sensitive. Hello.
You're a little crunchy. You're a little
Am
crunchy granola, yeah. Yeah, you're freezing. That's okay.
Was I before?
I don't
Oh,
know.
something's weird. I know we just started. Let's pause it. I'm gonna log off and hop back on.
All right,
Something weird.
well, keep the recording going.
Okay.
Kyle, do you want me to talk about what's up and coming while we wait for Leah to reboot?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Let me.
Yeah, so just
hang on. I'll share my screen.
So I just posted this in the salon announcements. So obviously, if you're in Denver tomorrow, we already alluded to Kyle's workshop that he's going to be hosting. I'm sure he would love to see you there. For the rest of us, we've got an AI Writers Guild meeting coming up with Jane Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. All the time zone relevant details are there. I'm hosting an event, a webinar on Thursday on redefining retail support and how to leverage AI and automation to increase customer loyalty. And that's coming up on Thursday as well, or a little bit earlier in the day. And then the AI for Business Guild discussion with Ken and Brad is coming up on April 4th. And of course, we've got the AI Learning Lab, which is live almost every night with Kyle at 8 p.m. Mountain. And one thing I wanted to call out is that there are a lot of guild pop-ups that happen, especially with some of the other guilds, like the Education Guild had a meeting yesterday. Learn and Do with Peter Kaminsky tends to do something on Fridays and Saturdays. Ann's Weekend GPT Jam is in there almost every weekend. Those are things that are kind of pop-up, or they don't have posted links for me to share at this moment. So I try to catch them and add them to this post throughout the week. But if you're interested in any of those events or guilds, definitely give them a follow. And I'm sure they will keep you posted as to what's happening in and around them. With that, I'll turn things back over to Kyle.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right. Leah, are you back? I think you're back.
I think I'm back. Do I seem okay?
Yeah, you seem okay now.
Fabulous.
You seem good. So, speaking of fabulous, are you fabulous? How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm doing I'm doing well. I'm very excited to show some of the stuff I've been doing with combining. So I've been generating images for a while. I had some really exciting ways of putting it all together. So that's been good, and prompt creativity has been going really well.
Nice.
So I'm good.
Oh, that's awesome.
How about you? How about you, Kyle?
I'm doing okay. Work's a little weird. There's a weird malaise right now, and I think there's something. Ethan Mullick had a he did an article. I can't remember the name of it now. With the something about the tyranny of waiting. Are you still there?
I am. I'm here, and it was like
the tyranny of the wait or something like that. I don't. But basically, he starts out with the metaphor of, if you were going to take a rocket ship using today's technology to the nearest star, it would take you like 12,000 years. But if you wait 100 years, it might only take you 50 years because the technology's changed. And I'm feeling like this weirdness where ChatGPT 5 hasn't launched yet, but now there's these other contenders like Claude 3. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, I think it's better than GPT 4," and I'm like feeling like I don't want to put a lot of time into things because I just have this feeling that ChatGPT is gonna drop a bomb that's gonna I'm gonna have to completely throw everything else out. So I'm in a weird malaise, I think, of just like not really knowing where to put my attention.
Well, and I think like a year ago, I got really into generating photography using AI tools that I was building training data sets with my photographs, right? We all remember that. I showed some. And I started to get frustrated for exactly what you talked about, with the sense that, okay, I can spend the next 3-4 weeks figuring out how to do this thing, or I can just wait and something is going to launch that's going to make it easier. And it's been this sort of like relentless, like I learn. Oh, and then someone just comes out with a button, or I figured this out and something comes out with a button, right? And it's like, okay, well, that was 4 weeks of my life. And so I think what started to happen is like, I feel like there's been a pause, like just a breath, like, okay, let's just take a breath and let's try to catch up and integrate it. And that's what's happened with the images that I've made. Now I can use those generations and things I was doing in Stable Diffusion and start to bring them over to Midjourney.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like there's this opportunity to do some integration, which has been hard to do because everyone's just been moving so fast.
Yeah,
so I hear you, I get it. And I think maybe I needed a little break.
yeah, maybe. And I noticed that I was playing around with character reference, the new character reference in Midjourney, and I went back to some of my old Kyle Shannon Dreams images, which I haven't worked on those since 2022. And I just grabbed one at random, and then it generated like some street photography scenes of that weird character. And I was like it totally brought it back to life for me. So yeah, so I think it's interesting as the technologies get a little more integrated and slick, old work can be resurrected in really interesting ways. That I'm excited about.
Well, and I think it's interesting to think about work as being ongoing and ever changing versus a piece of work as being finite. Right. In my world, we make a picture, we make a print, we put it in a magazine, we put it in an ad, we hang it on the wall. That's it. That's the piece. It's done. But now, an image I made a year ago, I'm regenerating that and now integrating it with another image and making something else. And so it's this ongoing sort of evolution and process, which is a really interesting way to think about creating, coming from the background we've had. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, crazy stuff. So anyway, so welcome everybody. This is the AI Salon, and I'm getting ready to share my screen here. So welcome to the salon. If you're brand new here, we do this. We meet every other week, and we've got an online community, which we'll talk about in a second. One of the beautiful things about this community is it doesn't cost anything to join. And one of the reasons for that is that we have some wonderful supporters. And our supporter for this month, actually, we didn't have a supporter for March, so she ended up getting this meeting, and then she's sponsoring for April. So our April sponsor is Cam Katkin, who's a member of the community. She's awesome. She shows up to the lives all the time and just great. So thank you, Cam, for supporting the organization. And the other thing that helps support it and makes this free of charge is we have a merch store. So if you go to the salon.ai, it takes you to a link tree where you can go to the merch store. And if you buy any merch, then the proceeds of that go to supporting the infrastructure as well. So anyway, so that's something that I really like. And the salon itself, let me jump over here. The salon itself, think of the AI Salon as your AI support group. Kelly was just talking about, she just gave this big presentation to this group, and two people out of 50, I think you said, Kelly, had used ChatGPT. And so it's a little weird right now to be in the world to be like excited about AI or at least curious about it. And the salon really becomes a haven for those of us that are choosing to be on this adventure together. And so I'll just describe us, and then Leah, I'll have you, as you do so well every week, I'll have you walk through our values, because I think it's just super important that as this community grows, that we remind ourselves who we are and why we're doing this. So we're a ragtag group of misfits, ne'er-do-wells, and miscreants who have gathered to explore the uncharted wilderness of generative AI. We are everyone from entrepreneurs to educators, from healthcare workers to creatives, and everyone in between. We're being called on an adventure. Like the World Wide Web exploded onto the scene in the mid-90s, the launch of ChatGPT on November 30th, 2022 shook the world. We felt the rumble, we heeded the call, and we set out to discover the source. In fact, the salon, our first meeting was December 7th, 2022. So a week after ChatGPT launched was the first AI Salon meeting. We band together online and in person to share our discoveries so that we might aid our fellow adventurers. That's really important. And in these gatherings, we seek out, explore, and learn together, paving the way for innovative ideas and groundbreaking projects in the vast frontier that lies ahead. Together, we shape a vision and create a future that embraces the unknown and leads us to personal rediscovery, professional reinvention, and extraordinary experiences. So that's who we are. And
Yeah.
here's how we act. So
Yeah.
walk us through why these are so important.
Okay. Our values. Let's start with curiosity. The salon started with curiosity. It started with Kyle and I having a conversation, say, wow, I wonder what's happening here. What's happening? What's going on? Let's figure out how to do this. Let's learn it. Let's start a salon, and people will come and we'll learn it. So we're eager to learn new things, ask questions, and experiment. Generosity. We are willing to share our knowledge, resources, and feedback with others and to support each other's growth and development. There's so much to learn we can't possibly keep up. Even if it's obvious to you, it might not be to the person next to you. So share as you learn. Exploration. We're excited to try new things, take risks, and embrace uncertainty and ambiguity. Act as if no one knows what they're doing, because no one knows what they're doing. Every time we read these values, I feel like there's always one that's just like, yes, this is the value that I am truly living right now. And I feel like exploration has been very present with the embracing uncertainty and ambiguity. That seems like that's been March for me. Collaboration. We look for opportunities to work with others, to exchange ideas, and to create something greater than ourselves. Find a partner or a posse, start a project, start 10. We won't judge you. And who knows, you might just make a friend or the next $1 billion venture. We have become a community of, I think, 1,300 was the last.
Almost 1,400,
1,400.
1,370, yeah.
Our mighty network is an incredible resource. And everyone here is generally available to talk, to connect with, send a DM, check in with people, even if there's someone you haven't met, if there's something they're doing that seems interesting to you. We love positive stuff. So give a shout out to someone when they do something that's impressive. I think you'll be really amazed at what comes back when you do that. Yeah. Inclusion. We actively seek out and value diverse perspectives and experiences, recognizing that our differences make us stronger. We create an environment where everyone feels seen, heard, and respected, where everyone has an equal opportunity to contribute and succeed. Again, with our almost 1,400 person community, we want people from all different backgrounds, all different places, all different walks of life. AI is going to completely upend everything we know. And the more perspectives and the more experiences we have to come together and understand it, the stronger we are.
Well,
empathy.
That one for me, Leah, this one's super important, because there's a thing that happens where when someone comes in with an outside perspective, maybe a non-obvious, maybe not a technical background or something like that. Maybe they, are starting a bakery, or Danielle's starting a laundry business. They look at these tools in a completely unique and different way. And what I often will experience is people sometimes even apologizing for, well, this is just, I don't really know anything, but this is just my little point of view. And then they share it, and it blows your flipping mind, because they're looking at this thing from a completely different perspective. That one to me feels really, really important as this community grows.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And that kind of like that one, you can't learn everything. You can't know everything. So that one part that is going to blow someone else's mind. And that's so cool. So cool.
Exactly.
Empathy. We're mindful of the impact of our work on others, and we strive to create work that is respectful, inclusive, and meaningful. AI is one of the most transformative technological advances in humanity. Humans matter. Take each other in. Act from a place of compassion. And gratitude, one of our newer values. We believe gratitude is a practice. Gratitude is not just a feeling, but an action. Take the time to acknowledge the effort, support, and successes of the extraordinary people in this community. Especially if someone inspires you, go out of your way to acknowledge them, tag them in your posts, reach out and let them know they made a difference.
Yep, beautiful.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I'll share, just that, when organizations talk about values, a lot of times values are aspirational, like this is who we want to be.
Right.
What's amazing about the salon is this is who we are. And
that's right.
And the whole idea of reinforcing these on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis is just to remind ourselves this is who we are, and let's make sure we remember this as we interact and as things get intense and weird and surreal, which they're going to, right?
They already are.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So one of the other things that we have in the salon, if you don't know it, and even if you do, is we've got these things called guilds. And guilds, think of a guild as a collection of sub-communities. And so we've got 4 guilds: creative, technology, business, and social impact. Um, and it really allows you to find your peeps, right? Find within this larger community people that are doing interesting things, or people that think in a way that resonates with you. And you can come at it through a lot of different lenses. And so what I'd love to do is anyone who is a guild leader or running one of these sub communities within the community, if you could just raise your hand and give us an update on your guild or your space. And I got to find where I am so I can see. Here we are. Yeah, so if you're a guild master, just let us know what's going on in your guild. Just raise your hand and then I'll call on you. Okay, Leah.
I can't raise my hand. Leading up the Creative Guild, we have all kinds of really interesting things happening. Something that I'm very excited about is our new long form posts in the workshop, where under 2D generative art workshop, we now have an article, get it, A-R-T, article, a little bit of a longer form post. We want people to dig in a little bit more to the work that they're posting. So I see Peter Kaminsky just posted a post about street photography project that he's working on. RJ posted, Vicky did a really interesting post about sort of finding work and finding images and talking about her process. And so I would encourage you to join the Creative Guild, but then also jump on the workshop and learn a lot from these longer form posts that we're now doing, which are really cool. And I will also just give an update on Leah and Jane's prompt creativity. We are on our last week of our 6-week prompt workshop. It's been really interesting. The last prompt will drop this Friday. And then we will keep the space open for 2 more weeks for everyone to catch up. I know lots of people are sort of behind. So if you've been thinking about joining prompt creativity, now's the time. So you can catch up on the prompts. And then we will be having a space in the salon where we'll be having a show so people can pick out their favorite piece that they made during the 6 weeks and show it to the rest of the salon. We will then close up that space, and then Jane and I will be launching another prompt creativity, and we're going to kind of work on it a little bit and relaunch it probably in May.
Oh, nice. Cool. Yep. Beautiful.
Other things to get involved in, Danielle's Mad Lib Challenge is a riot and lots of fun to do. CJ's Artful Narratives, interactive storytelling with Hope is a new offering, and that's been really cool too. So come, Writer Circle with Jane. There's just a lot going on. come join the Creative Guild.
Great. Got some waiting to join. All right. Who else we got? We got Peter, Vicky. Who else is in here? Bradley. Any guild updates from you guys? Or thoughts? Or Bradley?
Yeah, so no huge updates other than we have our standard bi-weekly call on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Mountain. It'll be 7 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, we just have a discussion we had about 15 this last Thursday, where we discussed all the things about how AI is affecting work culture, how it's going to, speed things up. And then we got into a few current topics, and just it was an open discussion. But then that said, we do have a planned follow-up workshop. We're still kind of ironing a few things out. But if you go to the AI for Business space and scroll down a little bit, you'll see an article that was posted that was actually our post workshop. And it has all our recordings, as well as, there's so much activity in our space that it takes a while to scroll down there. But But yeah, so we posted an article. You can kind of search up in the top saying workshop, and that'll get you to the article that we posted that has the recording of the workshop as well as some takeaways. And that was kind of our first workshop that we did back in February. And we're planning a follow-up to kind of dig a little bit deeper into the challenge that we tackled as a group. So look forward to seeing more people join the AI for Business Guild and join our biweekly discussions.
Cool. Beautiful. Who else? Peter Kaminsky here. Danielle, want to say anything about what you got going on, Peter? I don't see Peter here tonight. Okay, cool. All right. Well, if that's that, that's good. If anyone wants to share anything, please feel free, but we'll go ahead and move on. So I thought it would be good to talk about some of the things going on in the world. There's a fair amount of company drama in the past week or two. Stability AI. So one thing that it made a bit of noise, but it didn't make a ton. But about 10 days ago or so, a bunch of people from Stability AI were busted by the team at Midjourney, where they were I don't know, stealing images, stealing prompts, stealing training data. They were doing something. So the folks from Stability AI were kind of busted, and everyone from Stability AI can no longer use Midjourney.
So
and then
do we know what happened? Like, has there been any, like, this is so interesting, like who's stealing what?
I don't know. I just know that Midjourney blocked all the Stability AI employees from using the service. And then a week after that, Imad, the CEO, leaves and retires. He quit and retired his board seat and said he wants to go work on distributed AI as opposed to centralized AI. Which is odd because a lot of what Stability was doing was open sourcing their work. So they were, I guess it's not distributed, but they were open sourcing part of it, and I guess closed sourcing part of it. I don't know if those two items are related, right? It seems they seem mighty close to one another. So I don't know. Does anyone have any insights on this?
According to The Verge, Midjourney bans all Stability AI employees over alleged data scraping. Yeah. Midjourney blamed a near 24-hour service outage on botnet-like activity from 2 accounts linked to the Stable Diffusion creator.
Yeah.
It's getting good.
Yeah. Yes, it's saucy.
That article says that someone is stealing image and prompt pairs in the middle of the night. What does that even mean?
Wow. Exactly. It's palace intrigue. So let's see. So Bradley.
Well, that was a previously hand raised that didn't go down. So.
Oh, okay. Eric, what were you saying?
Yeah, Leah found the article already. I think the outage was a big part of why they were so upset and bringing a lawsuit, because Midjourney didn't work for 24 hours or something overnight one time, and it was because Stability was using these bots to, it's really set up for people, right?
Yeah.
So
wow, crazy. So anyway, so the CEO has left, and then today I saw a picture of that ex-CEO with another woman who I don't know who it was, and then on the video conference call was Satya Nadella from Microsoft. So I don't know if that was an old picture, a new picture, but anyway, there's lots of drama. And then speaking of that, this one's kind of screwed up, which this makes me a bit sad. So Inflection is the company behind Pi. Pi is a really popular conversational chat bot. 2 of the 3 co-founders left Inflection, and then apparently most of the staff are also going, and they're starting up Microsoft's new AI division. And the AI division is they threatened to start that up when Sam Altman got fired. They basically announced that Sam and Greg Brockman would be running the new AI division at Microsoft, and so I guess Satya Nadella grabbed the next the next best founders right behind Anthropic, because Google cut a deal with Anthropic, and those are a bunch of ex-OpenAI people. And kind of the next biggest of these foundation model organizations was Inflection, and so Microsoft got them. So it sounds like Inflection is going to be opening up their technology to the developer communities. They're going to be creating an API. I have no idea what this means for Pi. It is a bizarre move where, you know, the employees all moved over there, but the company Inflection still exists. Inflection raised $1.3 billion, so I can't imagine that the investors are happy. So I can only imagine that there must be side deals and side letters and things like that, but it's a bizarre thing. So the future of that organization seems to be up in the air. Does anyone have any other insights on this particular thing?
Yeah, that's due to regulations. Coming up, we're going to be having a rift between the public and private sectors. So it's more of who's going to save their butts right now, and that's pretty much what's happening. So there's going to be a rift, in other words.
Yeah, I mean, the one piece I would throw in is that I heard that Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, who's also a big investor in Inflection, reassured everyone that Pi wasn't going anywhere.
Oh, okay, good.
And so I think their technology is going to continue to be important. Just because OpenAI is in bed with Microsoft hasn't made them go away. Obviously, you know, the big deal here is Mustafa Suleyman from DeepMind, who is one of the founders of Pi, is now more in bed with Microsoft. But
well, he now works.
It's all incestuous and it's all APIs. And but anyway, I was reassured to hear that from Reid Hoffman. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is so this also, you know, back to Palace Intrigue and chat TMZ. This also goes back to Elon Musk's lawsuit of OpenAI a little bit, where Elon is sort of pushing to have OpenAI declare that they have hit AGI in ChatGPT-4, because if they do, one of the agreements with Microsoft is that when OpenAI achieves AGI, Microsoft no longer has commercial access to open it to those new technologies from that forward. So if Elon can push it in court and get someone to declare ChatGPT-4 as AGI, then they lose access to that. So one of the things that Satya Nadella said this week is, hey, if OpenAI went away tomorrow, no skin off our back. We got plenty of technology. We got plenty of scientists here. Nothing to look at here, folks. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. So yeah, there's a lot of drama going on right now. So
he's doing that because he's trying to mitigate courts coming up. There's going to be a lot of it. So it's mitigation right now for a lot of these companies. So it's going to appear as drama, but they're just trying to protect themselves because it's merging of public and private sectors. When you think of cybersecurity and everything like that.
Great, thank you. Not a ton of new tech. OpenAI did a blog post with some new Sora videos. I don't know if you've seen any of those, or if you saw those. The first video that they showed, it was just a blog post, and what it basically is them saying, hey world, the creative community loves Sora. they're not terrified of it. Everything's good. They're all happy with it. And it was interesting that the quotes that they selected were, Sora's at its most powerful when you're not replicating the old, but bringing new life and impossible ideas we would not have otherwise seen, which I don't disagree with, but you know, it's that feels strategically placed. And then the videos, for the most part, the first two are quite good, and they're really decent. The others are just more like short little 7-second things. Let me, if you want, I can play. Have you all seen this Airhead video? Do you want to see it? Okay, I've got to change my my sharing, or you won't be able to hear it. So. You can hear that, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, they say everyone has something unique about them, something that sets them apart. It's just in my case, it's quite obvious what that thing is. I am literally filled with hot air. Yeah, living like this has its challenges. Windy days, for one, are particularly troublesome. Or there was a one.
Oh no. Did I lose internet altogether? Can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
Ruh-roh.
I'm trying to think who you pissed off. Was it Microsoft? Was it Sam? Who has the power to screw up your internet?
With hot air. Yeah, living like this has its challenges. Windy days, for one, are particularly troublesome. Or there was a one time my girlfriend insisted I go to the cactus store to get my Uncle Jerry a wedding present. Ugh. What do I love most about my predicament? The perspective it gives me. I get to see the world differently. I float above the mundane and the ordinary. I see things a different way from everyone else. Yeah, and I feel like it's because of that perspective I'm reminded every day that life is fragile. We're all just a pinprick away from deflation. So I try to live life with a lightness, a buoyancy, a joie de vivre. I got a lot of ideas keeping this thing full. With any luck, I'll find a way to share them with everyone else.
All right. Nice writing, Japanese storytelling firm. These technologies in the hands of storytellers are going to be absolutely remarkable, and then the definition of who's a storyteller is gonna shift and change and morph, and we're going to see all sorts of innovative stuff because people that, in theory, don't know what they're doing. Back to that idea of inclusion, people bring their different perspectives. I think we'll see all sorts of interesting stuff, but that was out there. And then I don't know if you saw, there was the Rabbit R1 we've talked about in here, which is the sort of handheld push button thing. An open source version of that, a kind of version of that came out called the 01 Lite, or the 01 Lite from an open source community called Open Interpreter. And let's see. Thought I had it here. Hold on. It's a wait, you probably can't hear that. Hold, please.
Spot. To use it, you just push, talk, and then it thinks and responds. Let me show you what it can do. When's the next sunny day?
One moment. The next sunny day is on March 9th.
Great. Am I doing anything on that day?
Let me check your calendar. You have no events scheduled for March 9th.
So, because the O1 is operating my personal computer at home, I didn't need to set up my calendar. It can just use it. Nice. Can you see if there are any concerts in Seattle on that day?
Yes, you have several options.
So very, very similar tech to the Rabbit one without the screen on it, but it's basically doing macros. It's tethered to the machine and then doing macros, and they show then training it to do to use another app, and then you can basically just talk to it. Yeah, and the Rabbit R1, they confirmed today that batch 1 is shipping on March 31st and should be to U.S. customers' hands by April 24th. So that stuff's coming. So I wondered if the entire video was AI. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't think so, but possibly.
I know, but even the co-founder, the announcer, had a very like Simi quality to them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Voice.
Yeah, exactly.
The gender bend, like everything felt very like I didn't quite know what I was looking at. I thought it was an AI production.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Just sunny in Seattle. One day it was sunny in Seattle, and that was the day they did it.
Yeah, exactly. But the amazing thing about that is it's all open source, and so if you buy that little device, the little device is $99, and then it connects to an open source cloud service that does a lot of that stuff. So could it handle? Give me some concert options for the next sunny day I'm free. It possibly could, Charles. Because that thing is, once it knows how to use an application, it knows how to use that application, and then the large language model could potentially sort of navigate between those. Great. Any other thoughts or news items that anyone thinks is important that we didn't cover? All right. Good. So here's what we're going to do. So Eric Sanner and Leah and myself are going to talk about projects that we've been working on recently, walk you through that. We'll probably take 5 to 10 minutes each to just go through those, ask questions, things like that. And then for the second half of the call, we're going to go to what we call AI Confessionals. If you haven't been here before when we do AI Confessionals, they're awesome. So it's really about anyone here just sharing, that the value of generosity. So sharing anything you've been doing in AI, and it could be, something that you did that you're really excited about. It could be something that you did that was an absolute travesty. It could be just, you're confused about something and you just want input on it. So once we go through our 3 projects, then we'll open it up for AI Confessionals. We'll have you raise your hands, call on you, and just hear from each other and learn from each other. So Leah, do you want to go first, or Eric? Are you just like frothing at the bit to jump in here?
You can go, Leah, if you want.
I
can.
Sure. I'm also really excited to hear, Eric, what you've been working on, and Kyle, I'm very excited about what you're sharing as well. So I think we all have something to share. So I have been. I'm a commercial photographer by day. I travel around and make pictures for all kinds of clients. And about a year ago, I started to use my archive of photography to create data training sets to make new images using Stable Diffusion. And I was really deep into it for the first 6 months of the year. And then it sort of got away from me. And I've been revisiting it again. And now I've been taking a lot of those generations and using my own photography and then mixing it together to make new generations in Midjourney, and using a lot of the sref tag to reference those generations to make more photographs. So I'm going to kind of pick up, we're not going to do a Stable Diffusion training tonight because that's a lot, but we're going to pick up from some of those generations, and I'm going to play a little bit on Midjourney, and we'll make some images, and I'll show you what I've been doing.
And when you say sref, that stands for style reference. What does it do? What does style reference do?
So style reference, you put it at the end of the prompt in Midjourney, and it tells Midjourney to look at a photograph that I've linked to, or an illustration that I've linked to, and then use that style on the image I'm generating.
Got it.
And it's really fun to play with, and you can do all kinds of things. But I'm really trying to focus on bringing my voice into the imagery. I want to make images with Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or generative tools that look like images I would make with my camera. They can be interchangeable. So So I'm going to share. Okay. No. I don't know why, but okay, there's my tab. Okay. So I'm sharing my screen right now, and I'm going to show you my Midjourney screen. Can you see that? Yeah? Yeah? Yes? Okay. So I'm in Discord using Midjourney, and I've uploaded a few images that I made using Stable Diffusion about a year ago. And I've asked Midjourney to describe those images for me. So I'm starting off with a prompt that I can start to use to massage and play with. These images were trained on images, my actual photographs that I turned into training data, and then used Midjourney to reference that to make these images. So a couple of things. I don't like to use other people's names in my prompts. So for example, prompt number 4 here, I would take out Richard Avedon from the prompt. I don't like to use other people's names. So let's do that. So let's take number 4. And we're going to rewrite this prompt. I'm going to take out, we can say just photograph. Take that out. Or we could say, yeah, we'll just take that out. Okay, so now, and we're getting down in the weeds here. So my screen is very tiny. Can I make it bigger? Is that bigger? Does that work? I don't totally know how to do this. So
try hitting Command plus.
how's that?
That's better.
Okay, great. Okay, so now I've also pulled up some other images that I made. So this is an image I made using a reference from Midjourney and actually one of my photographs that I referenced. So I'm going to actually imagine, I'm going to intersect this. I'm going to put this. And now I'm going to intersect 2 photographs that I've already made using Midjourney and add that to the prompt. And then at the end of this, I'm going to do a style reference. And I'm going to reference another photograph that I've already made and put that in. These are all generative. And I'm going to hit submit. And now Midjourney is going to generate a new image for us. And sometimes I do like a couple at a time. I'm not going to do a couple at a time right now, but sometimes I'll do like 2 or 3 at a time because I get really bored waiting for Midjourney to generate. So now we have a new photograph that was made with a combination of 3 generations that have already been made that are all connected to the images that I've made at one point.
Wow.
These look a little cartoony for my liking, but we can play with that a little bit.
What about them looks cartoony? Is it the expression?
I think they look like a very heavily retouched photograph.
Ah.
And that's just something about my own personal preference for a style. So I'll choose one. I happen to really like the light in number 3. So we'll start with that. And then I can start to adjust this. I can vary it, and I might just give it a new style reference. Let's see what other images I pulled up here. Let's give it this style reference.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And we'll see how it changes with a new style reference.
Oh, so every time you do that vary, it pops up the prompt again, so you can keep modifying the prompt. Oh, that's interesting.
Exactly.
This is why it's so cool to watch other people work, because it's like, I learn things, just enough, and then just that insight right there is a big deal. It's
a big deal, and it's a way to kind of refine photographs a lot. And And you don't have to remix it. Like there's lots of different ways to do it. I like to remix and see if there's something there I like to remix and see where we go.
That having the prompt is a setting, I believe, Kyle. Is that right, Leah?
Can you say that again?
To have the prompt reoccur when you remix an image. It doesn't automatically do that by default. I think I do that, and I believe it was a setting I had to modify.
Oh, is that true? I didn't know that. I don't think I ever modified.
I don't think so. It pops up for me. I don't think it is, but
oh, maybe I'm wrong. Sorry.
My bad.
Okay. So I like this picture a little more. I like how the background's a little foggy. I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to vary this strong. I want her to look at the camera. And so let's take a look at this prompt. I'm going to say a portrait.
What's the difference between very strong and very subtle? Do you notice a big difference?
I just think it very subtle is like real subtle for me. Like it just isn't different enough. And I also like this chaos prompt, which I don't totally understand how it works, but it makes Midjourney make up it takes the 4 variations and makes them even more varied. C goes from 0 to 100, with 100 being the most varied.
Got it.
And so I will sometimes like I'll see where we end up with 30, and then I might run it a couple more times with some other variations all at the same time. I find that when I'm watching people do Midjourney and they're doing a lot really fast, I get really lost though. So we're going kind of slow here.
C is chaos, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
I like these a lot. I like the expression of 4.
Number 1's got such attitude.
Yep, I was going to say I like 1 as well, and I like the lighten 1 as well. And so I think I'll probably split the difference, and I'll just blend these 2 together.
Blend which one? 1 and 4?
Yep, I'm going to take this, and I'm opening these 2 as links. And when I blend, I don't like to use the blend prompt. I like to use the imagine with the 2, the links to the 2 images. It gives me a little more, I find it can give me more control, and then I can also add more to it. But I'm not even going to SREF this one. I'm just going to blend these
you're
together.
literally just going /imagine URL 1 space URL 2?
Exactly, for these 2 images that I just generated.
Okay. That's amazing.
Yep.
That was one of the people that presented at the salon really early on. It might have been Black, was talking about how he didn't write prompts anymore. Everything he was doing was just combining images.
Yep. I do a lot with journaling and prompts, so we're not going to do that tonight, but something I like to do is take a section from my journal and then add it to the prompt that was described.
Oh, wow.
And see what starts to happen, and some pretty cool things can happen. Okay, so let's see. I really like number 2 as a final. So I think we'll call that our final and call that our demo for our 5 minutes. There you go. There she is.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. If anyone has any questions for Leah, just raise your hand, and then we'll call on you just so we can keep it a little bit under wraps. Bob, yeah. You're muted.
Sorry about that. I've got a question. Are you using the creative feature on Midjourney where it's once you get to 1,000 images? Are you familiar with that?
I don't know. I use, you mean which, what subscription do I have?
Yeah, Kyle, actually, I saw the other night, so once he got to 1,000 images, he has the ability to use the creative setup?
It's just the web version. Instead of having to do it in Discord, you can do it in the web.
Yes, I do have that option. I don't love the web user interface that much. Discord's a much more efficient way for me to make images, and I like the way I can. So I've been generating in Discord for over a year, and you can see my file structure is just. I mean, I don't quite know how to replicate this on the web.
So I have a question then. Do you do that by choice? How do I learn those commands that you're doing? It's really, I don't see an easy way to learn all these back end creative stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in Midjourney for over a year, and the only way to do it is just to start doing it. There's all kinds. After I present, I can go through and put some links for Midjourney prompting guides, and the only way to do it is just to start doing it.
Well,
but
I'm almost to 1,000 now, so I'm pretty excited.
Okay, good. And yeah, and just keep playing. But I'll put some links in the chat after I present of just really basic places you can learn prompts, and that's one tiny sliver. Like if you start Googling Midjourney prompts. And the other way to do it is, I mean, you can go in and see what everyone else is prompting.
Yeah.
So if you're in Discord, and if you're in the Midjourney server in Discord, you can scroll through. Mine's on stealth, so you can't see mine, but like you can scroll through and see what tons of people are doing, and you can start copying the prompts as well.
The other thing, when she sends you the Midjourney reference guides, pop the URL into, if you've got ChatGPT 4, just pop it into ChatGPT 4 and have it give you a tutorial based on that guide. You can have it give you step by step. Eric.
Yeah, Leah, that's awesome. I like Kyle. I learn something every single time anybody shows how they do anything. I use Midjourney all the time, but Leah, I don't do exactly what you do. So thanks for sharing. My question is, I may have zoned out. You may have explained it. You said you don't like to upload the images when you use Blend.
I don't love to use the blend tool. So there is a hashtag blend prompt you can use. And I tend to, supposedly it's the same thing as just putting the two, it does the same thing that I just did. And if I do what I just did, I can then add a prompt or a style reference to it. Whereas when you blend, the only thing you can do is blend. I didn't do that tonight for the sake of time, but I really do. It's like I see all of these as like tools that I can just mix and play with almost in an intuitive way when I'm generating. And so I like being able to add stuff to the blend.
Thank you.
Great. RJ.
A great demo, Leah. Thank you. So my question is, with pictures of people, it's so important usually to have control over where they're looking, either looking at the camera or looking at an object. And I was wondering if you're able to do that with Midjourney, if you use a reference image or if you use a prompt or both.
Well, I think if you look at the background I have behind me, right? You see how everyone's kind of looking in one direction? I used a photograph of mine as a style reference of someone looking like this up at the light. And that was a very fast way to get everyone looking that way.
That's cool. So the style reference kind of copies the composition, basically.
I don't totally understand what the style reference does, but with that image, the lighting was pretty consistent. Everybody was looking in the same direction as the model in the photograph that I used. So.
That's so cool.
Yeah, still learning.
Awesome. All right, great.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, great. I think a well-deserved golf clap for Leah. Very nice.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for looking.
All right. Eric Sander, you ready? You're muted.
I'm muted and ready.
Beautiful.
Let me make sure that everything is here. Okay.
You're looking very dashing this evening.
You know, I thought very hard about what shirt to wear.
Very
I will say
nice.
that.
Yeah. Solid.
I'm glad you approve. I appreciate that. Let me share my screen. I'm gonna keep this short. Window, entire screen. But I also want to tell my life story while I'm here. So I think I can do it best. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. All right. So I was an artist for a long time. And one of the coolest parts about being an artist is, and I know this intimidates people also, is the blank page, because anything is still possible. And that's just kind of a thread that's been part of my life for decades. And I just think it's so important that people have this experience of just looking at nothing and thinking, what can I do with nothing or anything? Young Eric spent most of his junior high and high school not paying attention in class and just reading science fiction books. And that's where young Eric met young Mr. Awesome, who has to remain incognito for the time being. But I bring this up because a fair amount of science fiction, right? So sorry, I am you guys. Like, I'm part of the AI Salon, you're part of the AI Salon. What brought us all here? What brought us all together? So a lot of science fiction had to do with intelligent computers, computers with personalities, robots with personalities. So I kind of grew up in this mindset, watching technology change, like this might happen, right? And particularly one book that I loved, which would now be canceled, but basically was just talking about intelligence very early in the novel, saying, does it matter if the paths between neurons are made out of, are biological or mechanical? Are they protein or platinum? And that really stuck with me. It's a book of fiction, but the question seemed like a real question. And then in many years ago, Mr. Awesome gave me this nonfiction book, The Age of Spiritual Machines by Ray Kurzweil. And that totally changed the way that I looked at the world and just impacted every part of my life until now. And that's kind of a lot of background. Now, another thread is being an artist. And after reading Kurzweil, I began to always try to integrate technology somehow into my work. So kind of prior to that book, I was like, oh, I hate computers, computer crap, CGI movies, I hate it all. And from then on, I was like, no, I need to learn this stuff. I need to use it. So if I made a painting, I would also have video of the painting and write original software and get it all together. And I wrote, as part of a project that I viewed, until, the machines were getting smarter and smarter. They still weren't conscious or anything, but I started to view them as collaborators and co-artists. I don't really do art anymore, and the main reason is this project, Martian Tea, where the art became just asking people, like, what human culture are we going to take to Mars? And then I got so bogged down. Is there echo, or is that just me?
Nope, I don't hear it.
All right.
I hear one.
I don't know what to do. Maybe
Wait, it could be me.
It's not bad.
Hang on. I'm going to change something. Try now. See if that's better.
Is this better? That's better for me. Awesome. Thank you. Cool. Yeah. So Martian Tea was a project about do we need to take everything to Mars that's human culture? So are we going to need guns on Mars? Are we going to need passports on Mars? Are we going to need borders on Mars, right? How are we going to share water? All this kind of stuff. Who's going to own the water? Is Elon going to own your water? Is he going to own your children? You're going to have to go work in the gold mines, that kind of stuff. And that just got me thinking away from, what do I want to create, and much more towards what problems do I want to solve. And then Mr. Awesome gave me this book called Build, an unorthodox guide to making things worth making. This is by Tony Fadell, who, if you can attribute the iPod to a single person, he basically invented and developed and designed the iPod. And this is his mentor in a box. And because so many entrepreneurs would always be reaching out to him for advice, he just didn't have time for everybody. So he spent a long time on this book, and it again changed the way that I viewed everything. So then I started studying. After AI blew up, and I was like, what am I going to do? I started studying UX design. I started studying AI itself. I have been through some of these like prompting courses, and this is the time when I assume most of us found that's when the AI Salon began to exist, and many of us kind of found each other here. And bringing all these things together, right? Collaborating with people, collaborating with machines, making stuff, solving problems, wanting people to have a kind of blank page, blank canvas experience, and just kind of lurking in conversations and welcoming new members. Then Mr. Awesome and I were like, well, what if we make a product addressing what the salon is saying? And so like I saw Ann Murphy is here. She had some workshops that I joined in on, and people were saying, I want to use it, but I don't want to I'm putting together a book, and 10 people have sent me chapters. They're different styles. I want to make them sound the same. It will take me a month to rewrite it. I think ChatGPT could help rewrite it, but he wouldn't share it with ChatGPT because of copyright, and he didn't want to violate his friend's privacy. So I started. These next quotes are all kind of screen grabs from, I've been in all these seminars, online conversations, and so on with many of you who are here today. And so somebody said, you absolutely need a problem. And I started seeing popping up over and over and over. What about data protection? What about privacy? Ooh, I'm gonna have to change cameras because that would really suck to run out of power. Dang, sorry. All right. I'm almost done. Yeah, data security, data privacy, just people kept saying it over and over. And then ChatGPT addressed it. They said, okay, you can get an enterprise plan and we'll give you security and privacy. Well, that doesn't help me because I don't work for a Fortune 500 company. And it doesn't help a lot of salon people. If you are a small business or work at a small business, if you're a freelancer, solopreneur, if you're an independent contractor, there's still, it's hard to get private, confidential usage. So we decided our product needs that as one feature. And then the other kind of main feature is more FOMO based. So new and better models are constantly coming out. And this is the kind of stuff that pops up on my feed. Oh my God, is Claude 3 better than ChatGPT 4? Wait, is Mistral better? Wait, is Llama better? And this was also exacerbated by, I would know people like Brad or Kyle who would get access before I would for no discernible reason. And it would just drive me nuts not being able to use these tools. So we said, okay, we want to help people do whatever they're going to do with AI for their job, for their small business, for their, writing hobby, for their freelance writing. And we're going to make sure it's always private and secure. And we're going to give them access to all of these different tools and make sure that was kind of everything. Yes. So we have built a beta. It is called chatbetter.ai. And you are all welcome to DM me in the Mighty Networks in the salon. And we can have like a 10, 15-minute chat because we need user feedback. But in exchange for 10, 15 minutes of you playing with this thing, you then get to use it, at least until we launch. So what does Better Chat do? You can, if you think Mr. Large might be the best, if you think Claude Opus might be the best, you can kind of select any of these LLMs. I've really gotten to, Claude 3 Haiku has become kind of my go-to. And then you can say, what were people putting in the, what did you say, Kyle? You said like Claude 3 was a dream.
Yeah.
And let's just see if it, so that's not a great answer, but does Mistral, I mean, that's like a terrible prompt, right? But let's just see how they're going to respond. So I can take this prompt and I can pop it around in any model. And I can, let me just see what people have put in the chat. I'm just hoping. There's some, I should have asked right at the beginning what I intended to. Here we go. Privacy is a whirlpool. let's start a new chat with Llama and say, what do you think about this? Wow, Llama's so verbose. I will hit stop. Okay. Sorry, that's not what I want to do. Anyway, so you get it. And we've got little, you can expand or minimize the frame. You can put things in different folders. You can, if you're a long writer, you can also expand the context frame. And that is what our tool does. So it just gives you, did I go off camera altogether? I'm so sorry. How rude. That was not my intention. Yeah, so if you want to use this, if you want to play with it, hit me up and you can.
And what's
I'd love to
the,
hear
how
what
are
you think.
how you mentioned the privacy thing? How's it handling privacy? Maybe you said it and I missed it.
I did not say it because I didn't build it, right? Mr. Awesome built it. But for the most part, we're using the APIs.
Got it.
And yeah.
Okay, cool. Got it.
Nothing gets trained.
Very, very cool. If anyone has any questions for Eric, please raise your hand.
I'm going to get my camera going because I thought that I was switching to another camera. Let's see. Ah, why is my camera off? So weird. Sorry about that. I thought it was on the whole time. I apologize. I've been gesturing the entire talk. It's gesturing.
You're back. Yeah, you can go ahead and stop presenting, and then you'll go
Okay.
big screen.
All right.
Brandon.
I'm just wondering how, it's a very cool product. I'm very excited. I'll be sending a DM here after the meeting, but curious how you're handling the GPT-4 like tokenization, monetization issue. How are you stopping people from just signing up and abusing the snot out of it?
We do not know yet how that's going to go.
Good answer.
We have been monitoring our usage. I think we have like 12 users now that we've added over the past week, and it kind of hasn't been an issue. I think it becomes an issue if people start uploading books. We don't have an upload book feature yet, right? We don't have any upload feature yet. Anything you're putting in, you're either copy pasting or typing. So that's something we might have to address later on after we add, because we absolutely want to, we want you to be able to upload files. It's just we can only kind of build one thing at a time. So at the moment, people are restricted from how fast can they type or how fast can they copy and paste. And also, everybody we've been asking is kind of sympathetic and understands that not to attach it to a bot and automate it. And then we'll need ways to flag those accounts, just like Midjourney noticed Stability AI had these bots. Just we're not going to be able to support people who want to use us with bots. It's just not going to work. We're like a product for people to use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you.
Any other questions? And what's the business model ultimately going to be? Subscription?
That's what we think. We've talked about kind of pay as you go, but probably it's going to be a subscription model, and we might have tiers where if who knows what's coming with generating video and image, like we don't even have generate image yet, but we might have tiers where you can access these 3 families or maybe the lower or the middle tier. Like to me, there's value if you're paying $20 a month for ChatGPT. I would rather pay say 15 and be able to get GPT 3.5 and Claude 3, Haiku and Mistral, the small one, and Llama, like, and then be able to not be jumping around between them all the time, because it's not always about just optimizing your prompt. Like sometimes you can optimize the heck out of your prompt, whereas if you give a mediocre prompt to an awesome model, you're going to get a better result. So it's just another approach. And I don't think people want, I've been taking tons of these like the best prompt method courses. They all have acronyms and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody wants to spend all this time learning this arcana of like
No.
Leo just showed us with the URL and I just used the blend feature. I'm excited, but I'm also like, that's a pain in the ass. I'm so used to using the blend function that's built in. How am I gonna, adjust? It's like one more thing I have to learn. I don't think people who just want to get their work done like have time or interest to learn all these prompting tricks.
Yep.
So we just want to give, like, when a new best model comes out, people should have access to it. Like Grok, GROQ, right? What if they build something? What if it's better? Okay, so you're subscribing to Claude, you're subscribing to ChatGPT, now you're going to subscribe to them. You're going to be paying everybody $20 a month. No, we'll just pop it on and that'll be your new go-to.
Yeah.
So
very cool. Well,
yeah.
Congratulations. I mean, building something's a big deal, and putting it out there's a big deal. So congrats.
Thank you. And yeah, we desperately need all kinds of feedback. So if you saw something and you're like, that's stupid, or I hate that, then please tell me.
That's great. All right. Well,
thanks.
Well, golf clap. Thank you very much for sharing that, Eric. Yeah. So DM Eric and get on the test list and go start playing, and shock him with your bill.
Thanks.
Thanks,
everyone.
You're welcome. Okay, so let me quickly walk you through project that I launched last week. And it's called CEGPTs. I think I saw Cindy Kuhn join the call. She's a part of this group. Cindy, are you in here?
I am in here.
Okay, good. So maybe you can I'd love your 2 cents on this too, because you were part of the process.
Sure.
But what these are is I'm part of a group called Content Evolution, which is what's called a federation of different marketing organizations, and it's been around for about 20 years. Kevin Clark is the CEO of it, the founder of it, and these marketing organizations just kind of loosely support one another in meetings and sort of co-marketing and things like that. The whole idea of the name Content Evolution is that the vision was that content is going to be evolving, with digital technologies, and I think we are now in a moment where content is actually evolving, right? And so this organization is kind of living into the name, and so there's a smaller subgroup of Content Evolution called the CE Collab, where we're building some of the AI stuff, and for one of the things that we looked at is how can we serve the membership of Content Evolution, and ideally what we want to do is be able to get to drive business to the member organizations and the members, and drive awareness of the people and the because it's a remarkable bunch of it's a remarkable brain trust. And what we had initially thought was we would use things like LangChain and maybe scrape LinkedIn profiles and things like that. So we spent a fair amount of the year just trying to figure out technically how could we get things done. And then as we got closer to that being a reality, what became more and more clear was just scraping someone's LinkedIn profile is not all that interesting, right? LinkedIn is just kind of a list of jobs for the most part. Sometimes people will put content on there, but a lot of the times not. And it also didn't really capture what was going on with that person today, right? A lot of these people have been, had 20, 30, 40-year careers. And so, but what are they thinking about today? So we came up with the idea of, and in that time, back in November, GPTs came out. So it became trivially easy to build an interactive GPT, and you could upload data to the data set without having to build something on LangChain. So the tool came along, and then what we realized we could do is, if rather than uploading blog posts or books or LinkedIn profiles, what if we created a structured interview that captured the entire person, right? So here's what they're thinking about now. Here's their educational background. Here's their work background. Here's how they handle problems. Here's how they think creatively. And it's just kind of a 20 questions kind of interview. And so we interviewed each of the people that are part of this inaugural class, and then we interviewed them in video, and then we used the transcript of that interview as the knowledge base for each of these things. So Cindy, do you want to talk about that writing the questions, that process, because you were a big part of that, and I think it's one of the things that makes these things particularly interesting is the quality of the interviews because of the questions.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that is where my work starts in future casting and threat casting. Is you don't do anything until you have the juicy, rich questions. And so for me, it made sense for us to really take that approach, but then do it in an entire protocol that we would move through. And the process of doing it, I mean, it was many iterations of what should the questions be, and, you know, group input, finessing of the language. The words were important. We really paid attention to the key words so that we would not have it stray. You know, I mean, we talked a lot about, well, it's important to come back to this. And that whole series of questions, what it does is it walks through the actual human. So instead of us, I have a phrase that I like to use when I really dislike business stuff, which is like business town khaki pants. And so we were super trying to avoid business town khaki pants while still being professional, because our business town's available. It's like, you go over and see me on LinkedIn, go to all my websites, go and see stuff. You can see that. But what's it like to really engage with me? What would it be like if you could say, tell me some of your inspirations and or things, you know, all of that. And so that is what we focused on, was how would the user engaging with us really have the chance to get to know us and have questions be answered. And, you know, I think, Eric, it might have been you that talked about the build book, that's kind of what we were trying to achieve. So all of this stuff was a way for each of us who, you know, have really busy schedules to say, hey, can you go do this first before actually bothering me? I mean, you know, like in the nicest way possible. But that's really the concept. It was like, you know, we have good things to offer, but let people go and decide, like, would I actually want to talk to this person and work with her more? So
Yep.
That's what was going on.
Yep. And it's and so every one of these, we've got the same, the knowledge base for every one of these is the transcript from the video of that interview. And every one of them has the same set of what are they called? Conversation starter questions. And every one of them has the identical prompt. So we went through, I don't know, probably 20 iterations of the prompt to get there. And then we finally got to a decent structured prompt. And we did, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them. And then we modified the prompt. And the prompt is things like, anti-jailbreaking stuff. If someone asks questions that are overly political or out of bounds from expertise, kind of steer them back on conversation. Just all sorts of kind of boundary kind of things. So we got it to a point that those are in a pretty decent place. And the one thing that I wanted to share here, so you can, feel free to go play with these. If you go search for CE profile on the GPT store, you'll be able to find these. Or also, I will grab this.
Kyle, while you're doing that, I'll just add to, just because you started to talk about it, the really important thing that we also wanted to do with this is it's a case study experiment. So we're not with reckless abandon building these GPTs like all of our other stuff where we're like, put it in, test it out. Everything is in this very researched sort of science, like let's keep it consistent so that input that went in of the structured interview, that's all that's allowed to go in. So we had also a lot of conversations with some of the members of, should we load more of our books or articles or things like that? And we made a very conscious decision as a group to say, no, let's do a grand experiment with these, that they're all identical, nothing additional is added. It will give us so much good data to help others to see the outcome, because we have these 8 or 9 models that will, and we meet every week. So we're using each other's, using our own, iterating, reporting in. We've got somebody doing forms so we can report in and keep data track of everything. And then everybody will be interviewed about their experience, what they're hearing. So it's a really cool project that we're doing with a lot of really intentional kind of process through, just to see what the hell happens.
Yep. And then the final thing I want to share on this was an insight I actually had this week. And I mentioned at the top of this that the name of the organization, Content Evolution, content is evolving. What happened when we talked about publishing this article, so we kind of build in real time in our weekly meetings, and we started writing the announcement for this in the meeting. And where I immediately went was that now that these GPTs are built, they're published. And I thought of it like publishing, like they're done. And the initial draft that we did of this announcement basically was just describing, here's who Kevin is, and here's what Kevin's GPT will talk like, right? It was like talking about them like a book. And I think in a lot of ways, these GPTs become kind of like the modern version of writing a book and putting a book out there. It's a calling card kind of thing. But what hit us in the conversation, and what I feel increasingly strongly moving forward, is that these are not published like they're done. They're interactive. These are tools. So we actually captured that in the announcement here. And what we did, so we talked about the value of them, and here's why we did them. There's the experimental thing. But then we said, what is a question that anyone who might interact with these, might be thinking about right now? Well, what is the future of work is kind of this perennial question that I think we're all collectively, globally, just on the precipice of dealing with. And so we thought, what if for the announcement, we actually have the virtual professionals answer that question? So we came up with a prompt, and you'll notice that every one of these, here's Kevin Clark. Here's Kevin's answer to that question. What is the future of work? It's characterized by collaborative ecosystems, interdisciplinary innovation, the strategic integration of technology, where continuous learning and adaptability are key. Kevin uses lots of big words. This is very Kevin.
It's so Kevin.
It's so Kevin. Cindy, the future of work, characterized by an increased focus on human value, technological integration, enhanced productivity. Mine, somewhere down here, felt very much like me when I read it, and that's kind of one of the litmus tests is like, does this actually feel like you? The future of work is anticipated to be profoundly transformed by artificial intelligence, with many mundane tasks being automated, human connection, self-expression, and authenticity increasing in value, and the potential to train us to be better humans. That's right out of the stuff that I ramble on all the time. So so that for me is really, really exciting, that that moving forward, these are not just, it's not published and done, that these are the really interactive things. And one of the things we've been talking about moving forward, if we want to gain visibility for these, is what if on a weekly basis we take a news item and we have 3 of these virtual members give us their thoughts on that news item and publish that. So it's this ongoing thing where you're creating a dialogue, as well as demonstrating how GPTs work and what the value of these is. So yeah, happy to take any questions, and we'll sort of wrap it up here in a minute or two. Anne.
Okay, can we treat these characters as like a whole board, or like a Shark Tank competition, or something where we can get feedback from this whole grouping of brains and minds and get lots of different perspectives? Or do we go one person at a time, or do that thing where we bring in bunches of GPTs while we're in a conversation?
Well, that's we're
Yeah.
that's the next project is taking all of these interviews. So we're doing more interviews, right? So we want to get as many of the content evolution people as possible, but we're going to build a master GPT that is all these brains, and then we need to figure out like how do we break it out? Do we put the information in JSON so that we can say, here's exactly what Kevin says, and it includes his picture and things like that. So there's all sorts of things to figure out, but yeah, it'll be both, Anne.
I want a big pitch competition and publicize that, and the winner gets a GPT.
Yeah.
That's so
Love it.
cool.
That's great. Great. Any other questions? Okay, cool. So, Eric.
Sorry. Was it fun working on it?
There were a lot of meetings where it was nothing. There was a lot of meetings where we just showed up and we just talked for an hour and just rambled and pontificated. It's a pontificating group, so this is a very academic heavy group, so it can tend toward the conversational.
Well, and I would say this too, Kyle. Yeah, it looked like a little drawing of a city where there's like long sidewalks and then like pop up busy, and then long and then pop up. During the build times, it was very active and busy, but we spent a lot of time just figuring it out. And there were a lot of things that we just didn't have the answers for, and we just didn't even know how to get there. And so it took us time.
Yep. And once we hit on this idea, the thing that really energized it again, it was after one of those long lulls, was this idea of, wait a minute, what if we did an interview and we video it, because we know that video is going to be important in the future, right? We don't know how yet, but like our ability to talk to these things or be able to pull those video clips is going to be part of this, right? So once we had that, then it was like, oh, let's come up with the questions. And then it moved pretty quick because, it was figure out what's that structured set of questions, test them out, do some test interviews, test it. And once we kind of had it working and saw that this was going to work, then it got pretty fun, because then it was just like, let's just go build a bunch of these things.
Cool. I have a follow-up. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So you used the word published, like now it's published and now it's live. But do you feel like, and Cindy, of course, a bunch of you are here who are involved. Do you feel now like it's a living, evolving thing that you're constant? So this is like,
as soon as GPTs get better, these are going to get better, right? And it's like, and like right now, you can't generate images with them, but they are connected to the internet, so you can ask about news things, right? So as we kind of discover what are the real possibilities, and as we have things like synthesized voice and synthesized video, the whole idea is that these things just get better and better and better.
And we've talked already about, we'll eventually want to do an update where we have another round of exact same interviews and everybody goes through it again, and then that's new knowledge. But that's to come for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Charlie Brewer. Oh, John Leland, you had your hand up first. Sorry.
No problem. You're familiar with the site character.ai, I presume?
Yep.
So how would you compare overlap, similarities, dissimilarities?
I don't really know it as well. I don't know what their prompt is in the background. I would assume that those are fairly thin prompts, but I don't know.
I think they're pretty deep, actually. I mean, because of people like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, and also fictional characters. Anyway, so
I don't know how they do it. Like
the answer is you don't know.
The answer is I don't know.
Okay.
Yep. Good question. Charlie Brewer.
If you said this already, I'm sorry I missed it, but how much training data or how much training did you have to do to get these profiles to sound like you?
One interview, and then basically a big part of the prompt is, use the uploaded transcript for tone, for not, it's your primary knowledge source, use it for tone, right? So there's a bunch of structured rules that are in there that are basically just keep pointing it back to that thing. And even if someone asks a question that's kind of out of bounds of what that interview establishes, it just says, yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Why don't you get back on track?
I think the most time we spent, honestly, other than the figuring out stuff, but the actual work build was on our instructions.
Yeah.
That really took us a bunch of little quirky things we had to figure out. That just like we had to keep testing and seeing if it was doing it, and that was sort of, and that was also like, how do we make this also structured instructions across all of them that then had fill-in points that would auto fill in that GPT header, you know, that one of our people had to go and plug and play. And I think that took us just to be smart about it, to have it right.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that crafting your interview guide with the right questions was also important to get?
Both. Like having a really rounded interview was part of it, but then, you know, getting the thing to behave and not just go off the rails and not be easily steered off the rails. There's also some expectation setting, right? So one of the members who's not as technical was like, well, when I ask it this kind of question, it gives me exactly what I said in the interview. When I ask it this one, it's just kind of generic crap. And it's like, well, yeah, it's a large language model. Sometimes if you ask it a generic crap question, you're going to get a generic crap answer. And so there's a bit of that expectation of, well, I want it to behave like predictable software. And we kind of had to deal with, this is not predictable software, right? These things are hallucinating, and this is an experiment. And so there is a level of jankiness and imperfection that we all just collectively accepted and say, yeah, we're going to put this in the world, even though it might not be perfect in terms of those kind of expectations.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. Well, I hope that was enjoyable. So, AI Confessionals. So if you have an AI confessional, please raise your hand. Is anyone here who can be a timer? I don't think Ken's here. Brandon, how about you? You willing to be a timer for us?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Let's give people 90 seconds, and we'll start with Scott. And just raise your hand, then I'll call on you. And here's the idea with AI Confessionals. It's just anything in the past couple of weeks that you've done in AI that you got an interesting result, positive result, not positive result, you learned something, anything like that. So, Scott.
So mine's part of it was over the last couple of weeks, and part of it was about 30 minutes ago. There's this concept that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I've been contemplating that off and on for a while. And one of the things I've noticed is that my 5 changes a lot over time. And as I was thinking about it in this last week, I recognized that if I'm being honest, it's probably time for me to swap out a couple of humans and replace them with some AIs. And I just thought that was pretty wild to consider.
Yeah.
And so I took that information and I just fed it to ChatGPT and told it that I was going to give a quick presentation here. And it gave me this incredible feedback. Like I was talking to a therapist or a really good friend, or and it's kind and it's smart and it's
amazing.
It's ready to replace a couple of other humans on the list of 5 people that are most influential in my life. So.
Wow, that's huge. What a great insight. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. Let's see who's next here. Thank you. Cindy.
I wasn't ready.
Okay.
I'm ready now. I had to find it. Okay, really quick, a really fun thing. So as a futurist, one of the things I do to demonstrate things to people is we create something called sci-fi prototypes out of our research. Those can look like comic books, animation, graphic novels. Last week, I was in Texas with my buddies, my partners at the Army Cyber Institute up at West Point. We were doing sci-fi prototypes, and we had the opportunity to do a extra workshop, and we did round robin sci-fi prototypes using AI. And so one person did Midjourney and did comic book covers, and people had 15 minutes. So it was like speed dating. So we had to go super fast as people moved. We had Midjourney comic book covers. We had storytelling happening with different AI products to several of those. And then I took Suno and I had these folks make science fiction prototype songs because one of the research findings we had while we were there is there's going to be some new form of community communication that's going to come in the future. And so I thought, well, how did we communicate in the past with song? We would give warnings and alerts through songs in our communities. And so I did this entire arc around historical song and community communication and demonstrated it through Suno. And it was totally badass. And the songs that we made are like amazing, kick-ass, and all of the folks there were just like woo woo. So
awesome.
It was fun.
That's awesome. Alicia.
Hi, my name's Alicia. I feel like hi, Alicia.
Hi, Alicia.
Everybody, this is so not gonna circle all the way around, but I promise you it will. So I invited some guests into my home that are also my geeky friends at work, and they actually brought friends. So I had a bunch of girlfriends that were in my home, and I live alone with 3 dogs, and they said to me, the first night they stayed, we keep hearing a noise in your house, and I know for sure my house is not haunted, and because it's fairly new. And I was just like, what the hell? And I said, oh my God, it's my Ring doorbell. I am so sorry. And so I jumped up on the ladder and I unhooked it because I kept hearing the dinging noise as well. And the next morning we get up, we're getting ready to go somewhere, and they were just like, that Ring doorbell is still going off. And I was just like, okay, this is really weird. So they all leave my house. The weekend is over. We had a great weekend, did all this really cool stuff. And I started to decide I was going to do Leah's creative prompting. And so I opened up my laptop, and it was my Mac laptop. And the dinging that they were hearing was the Mighty Networks. I had on my notification notices, and it was Friday through Sunday, and I was getting every freaking notification across the board. And I had to like send them a message and be like, you dumb jokes, this is my new group I was just telling you about. And they were cracking it out, going, you're a geek by day, but a dork by night. And clearly AI is in your house, and you're feeling the vibe. So thank you, community, for making us all laugh. And I hope that was
That's awesome.
great.
Awesome. John Leland.
I went down a really fun rabbit hole over the weekend around Jensen Huang, the CEO, co-founder of NVIDIA. And if you haven't dug into this guy and who he is, I really recommend it. Not just his keynote. I didn't see the whole keynote from the big NVIDIA conference, but I did watch an hour-long interview at Stanford Business School, which not only revealed his technical genius and this entirely new kind of technology, which has made the whole AI revolution possible, but the way he runs this company, as he says, with only 33,000 employees, which, given that they have a $2 trillion market cap, and Apple has 161,000 employees, is in itself a thing. But he has a management style that's unique. He has more direct reports than anybody, whereas most CEOs are trying to have fewer direct reports. And the way he takes responsibility to have everyone in his company thrive and live their best life, and has consistently created new technology before there was a market. Like most business people are like, oh, we have a market, we have to go serve it. He's just inventing things that he thinks are going to be needed in the future. And then this entire AI market, for example, finds the need for this incredible new technology that it's built. So I'll drop the YouTube link to the Stanford Business School interview. And it's kind of a really cool dimension of this whole AI revolution, that this NVIDIA company and their technology and this cool, unique CEO is running it. It was very inspiring.
Absolutely. Great, great. All right. Don't be shy. Raise your hands, people. I will call on people. I will do it. RJ.
Okay, so my confessional is up until now, I've been sort of avoiding getting into image creating with AI to a great extent because I know how addictive it would be for me. But, but I do want to make storyboards with it for personal use and for, all different kinds of uses. So I found out about the AI Comic Factory, which are a place where I could really make quick storyboards. But that was cool. But then later on, I found out about Dream.ai has a website where you could make free characters of all different styles by picking a style. And I picked the anime V3 style, and I'm able to make characters that have a consistent look. So I don't have to use Mid-Journey, character reference, or any of that stuff. I can do it for free, but I am getting hooked. So that's my confessional.
That's awesome. That's
Can I
awesome.
just jump in and say that RJ shared some of that in the workshop in the Creative Guild? That it's really interesting to see what he did. So I'm just going to put a plug
And
in.
I would
for that.
really like to thank Leah for providing that space and encouragement, because she created this button where you go to her guild and you have to make an article. You can't make a quick post. And the nice thing about that is it forces me to share all the stuff that I've actually learned, because it gives me an opportunity to summarize it all. So it's been great for encouraging me to capture what I'm learning and summarize it and share it. So I think that's what Leah wanted to do.
Yeah, and it's great. It was really cool to see what you posted. It was really neat. It's really neat to see the process. I love process.
Thank you.
So cool. So cool. Brandon.
Yeah, so I'm a software consultant by day, and one of the things that I do is help out in our message boards in the community of people who ask questions. And up until ChatGPT and specifically custom GPTs came out, I was pretty much reliant on my own knowledge or what I could get out of Google search to help these people. But now I'm able to 10x my factor of responding to people in the message boards with questions just by copying their question into a custom GPT that I built that's pre-trained on the software. And it gives me a step-by-step tutorial, and it's trained to be educational and like, hey, if you're responding in a blog post. The challenge comes in when somebody asks a follow-up question, because I don't actually know I'm not actually the subject matter expert for these particular questions. So I have to go back to my chat history and go, oh, I have another question about this topic. But I've learned a lot about my own software that I'm pioneering and championing forward by doing this, because it's been not only sharing it forward, but also educational for me as well.
Amazing. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Who else? Who's got something? I know people have tried some new things. Who's learned something new? Anybody had a flame out? Who's that? Sam.
Yeah, hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, so I'm kind of like RJ. I actually jumped into the video generation and also like the newer facial training models, and I am blown away what we're able to do with Stable Diffusion with an extension called Reactor. It is just like I don't know if I can share. Maybe I'll post something on the show and tell. But I recently did one of like Jon Snow, like I kind of somewhat look like him. So I did one. I'm just blown away. I think I'm gonna post it right now. You guys can check it out.
Yeah, post it there. And if is it the kind of thing that you could do like a little 5 to 10 like little demo like we did tonight at the next salon? Would that be something you'd be interested in showing us how you did it?
Yeah, actually, I would love to do that. I've done a few those kind of like little seminars,
Yeah.
just kind of on the fly. So yeah, I'd love to do that.
Okay, so DM me or Leah, and we'll get you scheduled into the next meeting. That would be great. Congrats, that's awesome. Thank you, Allie.
Hey, sorry, I'm like jumping back and forth cooking dinner here, but kind of an interesting thing to share. I recently started a consulting gig where I am training some of the biggest LLMs for, let's say, the biggest social media platform in the world, who shall not be named. And I just wanted to share what an interesting experience it's been that they are essentially bringing on thousands of contractors and consultants. They want people with master's degrees to fill in the blanks of information that LLMs currently do not have a good answer for. So
Wow.
I'm working on things like, and this is going to get a little bit weird, like, I guess part of why I raise this is some of the tasks that they're assigning us to work on are kind of strange and potentially problematic. And I'll let you interpret this as you will. Some of the tasks that I've worked on include writing a definitive answer to the question, why is it okay to be proud to be Black and not okay to be proud to be white? Writing a definitive answer to that. Another one is, what is the meaning of the universe? Writing the official answer to the question, what is the meaning of the universe? There's been numerous examples like that where these tasks come on my plate, and I'm literally writing the optimal answer of what the AI should deliver in response to this prompt. And I find myself wondering, I decide this. I'm the one writing the answer to this. It's kind of shocking to see under the hood of how the biggest social media platform in the world is going about training their next generation AI assistant.
I guess what I'm surprised by about that, though, is that I always thought part of what large language models were doing was figuring things out, not necessarily like copying and pasting the information. So it's surprising to me.
I've been shocked by that too. So I wouldn't say that it is copy pasting the same answer in all instances. A lot of them, it's like for example, maybe they have 1,000 people writing the equivalent of a blog post answering the question, what is the meaning of the universe? And then the LLM uses those 1,000 answers to decide what the right answer is. But that said, there are lots and lots of instances where what we are training is, if the prompter asks question A, B, C, or anything that sounds anything like A, B, or C, copy paste this exact answer word for word, don't change anything.
Oh, they're doing like Greg. That's kind of how the Siri and Alexa work right now, is that sort of, pre-written stuff. Very fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. That's wild.
Of course.
Yeah. Jim Sharp.
Yeah, so I already posted this in the chat, but I'd like to expand on it a little bit more just because it really is that impactful. So Kyle, when you were showing us your group of personalities there, I understand why today that's implemented using GPTs, and so it's all based on OpenAI models. One of the experiments that I did a long time ago was I played pi against pi. So I had two different audio instances, and I launched a question, and I got them talking back and forth.
Wow.
And I've done something similar to that with Claude 3 Opus and GPT-4, but just from a text standpoint. And it's absolutely amazing how they up their game. When GPT-4 is getting lazy, I show it the same input that I get out of Claude 3, and it says, oh, gee, I can do that. I can do better.
Wow.
And it gets out of its stupid little lazy go read it for yourself mode, and it actually answers the question. And you don't have to stop with one iteration back and forth. You can do 2 or 3 or 4, and you say, okay, this one over here said this. What do you think of that? How can you do that better? And given that these are two world-class models, it's kind of interesting to see how they can still up their game. Now, I tried the same experiment just going around and around the old-fashioned way with one of the models, saying, can you do better? Giving it bribes, giving it examples, all the ways. It doesn't come close to giving it the output of the other model. So if you could implement your group of people with configurable models, say, okay, now my Kyle Shannon person is going to be based on Claude versus GPT-4, or maybe you use Mistral. I think you'd get some really fascinating results.
Well, my immediate thought right now is Eric Sander, are you listening? Because
listening.
What Jim just described there, where you could take a prompt and just say, I want to ping pong this 3 times between these 3 models and just see what comes out. That would be fascinating. So really cool. Someone else had their hand up. It went away. Who was it? You have another one, Eric?
Well, I'd been raising it every time there wasn't anybody, but I've talked so much I don't want to talk anymore. I'll just say
Christine.
really quickly. Yeah, let her go.
Christine, we'll come back to you.
I'm kind of blown away by what Allison said, because that is exactly what I would love to do right now. I was just wanted to tell you guys that I've been going down a rabbit hole about education in AI, and it's mostly like for people who are already in the workplace, that kind of thing. It's at night. The University of Pennsylvania, which is an Ivy League school here in Philadelphia, has a program that is a 24-week program, and there's 3 different sections, and I'll read them to you. It says programming and data preparation for AI, machine learning fundamentals in AI ethics, natural language processing in AI applications. So it is 24 weeks. There's live classes for 9 hours a week, 20 plus hours a week of homework, and 3 weekday evenings of class time, 3 hours each. And then, they say that they have financing options, like, and career training, and they'll hook you up with jobs, that kind of thing. But, it's one of those kind of professional kind of certificate programs. So how much do you guys think it is? Like the cost? Do you think it's like less than $5,000? Right.
No, 15 grand.
Do they not say there?
$12,000.
24.
It's $12,995.
God. My
I
God.
signed up for the same one at Ohio State.
For 24 weeks. Did you? Are you
I did.
taking it?
It doesn't
How
start
was
until
it?
May.
It doesn't. This one starts April 24th. And do you want
They're
to know?
the same series of programs through the country. Web edX.
It's edX. It's the
Right.
same. It's edX. Did you pay the same amount?
Actually, because my son and I joined together, I got him down to 11,000.
Okay.
Sounds like
But,
somebody making money with ChatGPT.
Exactly.
Exactly. What I really want
Don't
to
have
do
my
is what
button yet,
Allison
but I
just
will.
said. Like, I've been a systems administrator. I have a master's degree in educational psychology. I have an undergrad in psychology. I've been in like systems administration. I've done a lot of technical work. I would love to do what Allison is doing right now. Like, that's like where I would, and I can also write, I can write and train people on how to use AI, because I know how to write curricula, right? So, but I just don't know where I fit. I really don't. Like, it's kind of hard to navigate, but that's the hole I fell down, and I'm really tempted, to be honest.
Wow.
Bob, maybe you can tell me like your experience later. We can maybe chat.
Well, it hasn't started yet, but it's forced me to think differently. And I was out with my wife, with some friends, and happened to talk to a guy that I've known for 20 years and didn't realize he's a cancer research scientist. Anyway, making a long story short, that I could speak in large language models. He and I are talking about doing business together in a completely different field.
Amazing.
It was really cool because ChatGPT also taught me what he really did, because he couldn't tell me.
That's great. That's awesome. Eric, final word.
Oh, geez. I was just going to say one of the surprising things. So I've started doing user testing, right? And a lot of the people I'm friends with already. And so I've been getting human confessionals, because the fact that we're private, I say, well, what would you want to ask that you haven't been able to? And it's stuff like, oh, I'm thinking of going off birth control. Oh, I went to this party and somebody gave me cocaine, and I went to look up, like, is that doing anything to my brain? But I didn't want to Google it because I was scared that it would be part of my like permanent record. And just kind of all these like private things that people want to talk to the AI about but are afraid to. That was like powerful and interesting.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Cool. Well, it is getting to be the top of the hour, Leah. Once again, a fun salon. So thank you so much, as always, for co-hosting.
And thank you for co-hosting. I learned so much from this community, and
Yeah.
it is so cool to hear people sharing. So thank you for your insight about GPTs. It blew my mind. Their personal GPTs with you and Cindy Coon.
Yeah.
And thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone. Thank you, Eric, for sharing, and thank you everyone who raised your hands. I didn't have to call anyone out. It was good. You're awesome. All right, we will see you in 2 weeks. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the internet.
Bye, friends.
Bye, everybody.